Hello, everyone. I'm Ellie. I'm a customer experience head in a digital transformation office. Today, we'll talk about UI design fundamentals or how to teach it. I um, I have a session later with a startup group called QBO Innovation Hub. They're a startup group, startup network of entrepreneurs, platform that supports Filipino startups. Yeah. So this is through the User Experience Philippines group. Um, my friend Aldrich could not make it. He normally does this as part of our volunteer work. UX Philippines does some mentorship sessions, and today I'll have a mentorship session with Kubo. And I had already talked to them about. They're asking what's UI. How do you what are UI things about user interfaces that you should know about? And I basically told them, had a session with them talking about Gestalt Principles first. And this is something that another friend of mine who's a designer who I dearly miss, Rocky. I miss you. Um, he's been so busy these days. Rocky is taught me about Gestalt Principles, and I consider this one of the very fundamentals that of visual design that I still use to this day when I apply when I do my designs, the things that I've learned about. So here are some general design Gestalt principles that we group elements that are so visually we group them. Visually we close ideas. So visually because simply because you had the shading at the back, we visually see that as a group. Things like that. We f- we figure the foreground and the background. Some design fundamentals, proximity. So these are nice design fundamentals that I always start with when I have sessions with designers, and it's the same thing that I had talked about with Kubo, the Kubo startups. The other thing that so how do you teach? How do you teach? You only have 2 hours, and how do you teach user interface design to people, right? You can't tell them everything. You can only show them the map, right? So when I have these sessions with people who want to learn about design, I give that in mind. I have that in thought, and I have that expectation management session with them, saying that okay, all I can show you is the map. I can guide you to that area, but taking that path, you have to take that path. That's I think that's a role of a guide if you want to teach about user interface design. So the guideposts, the maps that I use normally when I'm teaching user interfaces, but the most common one is Gestalt Principles is the first one, and I highly recommend going through the Interaction Design Foundation's article on Gestalt Principle, and they also have some online lectures about it. The other thing that I always teach about when I'm teaching user interface, at least user interface, are Jacob Nielsen's 10 heuristics for user interface design. I do this because it's one of the simplest things to go through. What I've learned is it's easier for people to grasp if you just give them a simple guide to start off with. I can start off with so you start off with the fundamentals of Gestalt principles, and then next you go through that one is particular to user interfaces. So in this case, this was originally written in 1994. Imagine that. This is very old. It was just recently updated like last month. So, and these are very fundamental things. If you're making a website, if you're making a design of a mobile app, these are fundamental things that are very useful to look at. One is visibility of system status. So you should be able to know where you are right now in the area. You should be able to match the real world whatever you're happening in the real world should reflect in the UI, and you should give freedom control to users. Don't restrict. So these are the fundamentals that I teach. So whenever I have a session, like my session in Kubo later, um, these were the things that I've prepared normally. And I've gotten to the point that it's easier for me to show them where to look for. So I'm like a Wikipedia right now. Oh, you want to learn about design? I can show you, I can guide you, but you have to take the path. Here's one, Gestalt Principles. Here's another one, usability heuristics. So what would you use? What other fundamentals do you normally teach with? There are some psychological fundamentals as well, as like visual perception, attention, time, attention, how to capture users' attention. So those are other fundamentals that you can teach people. Okay, so those are what I apply, and I think that's the main thing that I wanted to talk about today. And I ask people, how do you would you teach UI for the designer friends out there? What are the most important things based on your experience? Uh, have you tried teaching? Okay, what would you teach? How would you teach? For me, I found out that these are the fundamentals. These are part of my evergreen notes, evergreen concepts that are constantly I reuse and reuse every time when I have discussions with designers, especially with beginners. There's a flaw, there's a problem with people who have been trained a bit. One is where we get biased in certain ways. So I'm biased in, yes, these two at least. And the other problem with people like me who have been trained so much is that sometimes the curse of knowledge, you assume that other people understand you. So I always ask, I like having sessions with newbies, I like having sessions with mentorship sessions with volunteers from UXPH because they always ask me questions that I take for granted. I assume people would already know. So it's good to keep asking that. So speaking of which, I have a session later with I have a design session later with the UXPH volunteers. We have a mentorship session, and I also stream about product management later because somebody was asking me about product management. So around 1 p.m. Practice streaming again. I'm doing this to practice how to stream. I'm learning how to stream because I don't know how to do this. I've been having problems how to apply. This is part of my 100-day video challenge. I'm already in day 96 of my 100-day video challenge where I practice how to my speaking skills. I practice how to um, practice. You see, I have problems speaking sometimes. I do my ums, I do my sometimes I mental block. So it's good practice to stream yourself, video share, document yourself, and this is how you track whatever you're learning. So that's what I found. It's part of my. If you read the books by James Clear, Atomic Habits, this is part of the atomic habits that I'm building, and very good for you to start off. So I'm doing this. I'm learning how to do this, and I'm practicing how to share these ideas, or what I'm doing right now. And I've learned the problem with people who have been trained so far is you miss some things. Now, what do you think? Am I missing? What are things that I should be teaching in design fundamentals? I ask you that. And this is also sometimes I do this streaming as a message to my future self, future Ellie. These are things you should be teaching, and what else can you teach? Okay, so I will end today's stream. I normally just have like 10 to 12 minutes of streaming, and I stop at I stop for after 10-15 minutes. Sometimes it reaches 30. But I end today's stream by showing this. This is what I sketched and did last night. I found some design concepts for character concepts, which is nice. It's good to see how to make a character concept. Yeah, I have a animation of this. How I did this. Maybe I'll upload it later. Yeah. And before I leave, before I end my session, I was just watching. I wanted to watch about Among Us. I will be playing Among Us with some friends, with family on Christmas. If you want to play Among Us, tell me, message me, and let's play Among Us because I don't get to play this. I used to play, werewolf. What else? Similar games, card games. Love to play with you if you'd like to play. And yeah, it was recently announced that Among Us will be in the Nintendo Switch. So I'm wondering if I should get the Nintendo Switch again. Should I get the Nintendo Switch? I wonder. All right, that is it for me. That is it for this morning stream. I do this every morning, usually 6:30 to 7:30, and this is my practice sessions on streaming. Thank you. See you around. Bye bye now.